It may be because he sort of kind of had a hand in buying an entire election. Maybe it's because
Oh, come
Elon
on.
Musk has previously made disparaging comments about Black folks and immigrants, but has yet to fully clarify his immigration process. Maybe because people are just fed up with Elon Musk, and now all of these old stories, new stories, and probably a few more in the future will seek to come out. People are just generally not Elon fans if they're not in the same tax bracket as him.
Would you be in favour of blind applications? So completely blind application. So you submit a CV with no name on it, with no identifying factor at all. So whoever the employer is for whatever job it is, just gets the CV. Would that not be a way of alleviating whatever people think might be wrong with DEI, but also alleviating what some people might see as racism in the application process? Would you be in favour of that?
100%. If we're going to talk about eliminating DEI, then eliminate the ethnicity box, eliminate the gender box. But be clear, the reason that President Trump won is because he ran on immigration, but primarily lowering the cost of eggs and gas, both of which have gone up consequentially across this entire country. And he ran on fear-mongering, and everybody knows it. But incidentally, he also abandoned those Black Americans that voted for him and those immigrant Americans who were able to vote legally that voted for him immediately. And thousands of folks have already been deported because of that. And you know how many of those folks regret their vote for Donald Trump? It's in the tens of thousands, and it grows every single day because some of those folks who voted for some of those few policies that President Donald Trump campaigned on did not think it would impact them, and now it is screaming at them right on their front doorstep, and they thought they were going to be exempt, and they found out today, yesterday, and every day since Trump has been inaugurated that they are not exempt from his poor policy.
Well, just that quickly, we've learned that former President
نحن
Donald Trump
عرفنا
was
أن
found
الرئيس
guilty
السابق
on not
دونالد
one,
ترامب
not two,
وجد
not three, but all
مدانا
34
في ليس
counts with
قضية
which
واحدة
he was charged.
وإنما في
So kudos to the
34
jury for
تهمة.
not being
لذلك
afraid and getting it
هؤلاء
right. What this
المحلفون
means
لم
going forward
يخافوا
is
من
America will get to
البت
have a front row
برأيهم.
seat
هذا
to
يعني أن
see
الولايات
if
المتحدة
Trump's
الأمريكية
loyal MAGA
ستنتظر ما
followers
إذا
will have
كان
conditional
هناك
outrage
أتباع
about the justice system,
لترامب
or if they will
سيتمردون
continue
ضد
to
النظام
support him,
القضائي
or if they
أم
will fall off and say,
سيواصلون
you know
دعمه
what,
أم
maybe he's no
سيقولون
longer our guy.
حسنا ربما ليس هو هذا مرشحنا.
I definitely think she wants somebody who's going to shine bright, but not necessarily outshine her. She does need to balance it out with ideology somewhat because there are certain voting blocks that she needs to maintain, but there are also voting blocks that she needs to win over that have been long overlooked or have become truly apathetic. I think if we look at the top two at this point between Governor Shapiro and Governor Walz, Governor Walz is the better choice. He's not only the safe choice, he's the best choice, he's the most progressive choice, and he's the choice that can win over middle America, young voters, Black and brown voters, because he speaks closest to their issues even more so than she does, and certainly more than Shapiro does. I think that there are so many Americans that suffer from dementia. When you see someone of President Joe Biden's caliber suffering like that in a very public manner in real time, it's disheartening. So what does that talk about for his ability to lead this country for another 4 years? That's very debatable right now. But I know that with the right support and the right people around him, the right people in his cabinet and administration, it just may give him the boost that he needs to get by. However, I do think that this is prime time for Democrats to reconsider what their options are at convention. However, I would take someone in the state that President Joe Biden is currently in over the possible dictatorship that former President Donald Trump presents every single day.
I think we know former President Barack Obama to be a phenomenal speaker, and what this is going to do is be a mirroring of what representation looks like for what it meant for former President Barack Obama and what it could mean for Vice President Kamala Harris. I think he's going to set the tone again for hope. Now we're at hope, healing, and possibly Harris. And so he's going to speak to the American people and he's going to inspire them. And hopefully that will in turn inspire Vice President Kamala Harris to further engage Democratic voters. Well, I think President-elect Trump was definitely campaigning as the underdog, but I can't say for sure that there is any common ground to be found amongst Democrats and Republicans and President-elect Trump. I mean, there was a huge red wave. They have the White House, they have the Senate, they have the House of Representatives, and they have SCOTUS. And so what we're looking at now is anything that even resembles a liberal or progressive value being completely undergirded by the MAGA administration. And be clear, this is not necessarily what's going to be best representative of the American voters and what's going to be in the best interest of the American public. This is going to be all about revenge and what President-elect Donald Trump wants to see. This is also why he is trying to expedite his cabinet picks and likely to kind of skirt the Senate confirmation process with recess appointments, because he knows that some of his picks have highly questionable backgrounds that will not bode well for the American public.
Theryn?
I mean, former President Donald Trump is not Bob the Builder, so he's not the end-all, be-all fixer. He's certainly not Olivia Pope. He's running against somebody similar, though. I think that if everything that former President Donald Trump did when he was, in fact, president was working so well, those policies will still be in place now, but they aren't. And so the difference is that Donald Trump has been president before. Kamala Harris has been vice president. She hasn't had the final say on policies and things that come across her desk. So we honestly don't know. So now we're looking at, do we want what is or has been, or do we want a possibility at a different future?
It seems. Because they've been listening to the wrong people. The strongest, boldest, most progressive voices are not those that have been included in the conversations. In fact, those have been the ones that have been long overlooked. And if the Democratic Party wants to move forward and get some new wins under the belt that we desperately need, then they're going to need to do that going forward. Unfortunately, while I think it's great that a woman has been added to the mix of DNC hopefuls, I don't think Marianne Williamson is the person. There is a person that is listed amongst those four that you propose that I think would be good to move the party forward, and that's Ken Martin. And I would pair Ken Martin as DNC chair with Vice Chair Wakenya Clanton. Those are the people that can move the party forward and that are going to be willing to put people around them to get things done.